Hello everyone, Dalton from the Yummy Buns channel here. This video I'm just going to be talking about some tips I have for how to increase your repetitions on your pull-ups. These are things that I've used in the past, and this is not really based off of scientific literature or any research, just things that have worked for me that I feel like that maybe you can just use as a tool in your toolbox for when you're trying either pull-ups at home or even in the gym. So a little bit about me. I do have a lot of experience with pull-ups, especially in the past when I graduated from high school and was in college, and then also doing a lot of weightlifting as well. I kind of stopped doing weightlifting when I had to focus more on my classes and had to graduate. Then only recently I've been kind of getting back into it and been doing a little bit more and more. So these are just tips I use and use till this day. And let's get started. So the first thing I have on my list is one of the very first things I kind of did was getting a weighted vest. You can usually pick that up at kind of your local store, Target, Walmart, maybe not Walmart, but I know Shields have some. You can also get them on Amazon, and usually I kind of recommend that for people who are able to do between 8 to 10 reps. The reason why is you kind of don't want to do that if you're doing any less than that, is that there's a problem with not really getting enough volume when you're only able to do so many few reps. And so if you think about it this way, if you're only able to do about like 3 to 2 reps, then you kind of have to think about what you're going to do after that, because you're not really going to have the endurance probably to do any more than that, or you're just going to be too tired, and the weight vest isn't really just going to work out for you when you could just rather be doing your own body weight or using something else. And so I would really only recommend that you get a weighted vest if you're able to do a sufficient amount of pull-ups, and that way you're able to build more adequate strength from it and endurance. Another thing I want to mention is that if you don't want to spend money on a weighted vest, you always could get like a backpack or a book bag, and that will do the same difference. You just put some heavy books in there. And recommend, when I got my weighted vest, I was using 5 to 10 pounds at first, and then if you work up to 8 to 10 reps with that, you can usually increase the weight by maybe 2 to 5 pounds, and that should be good, and you can keep working your way up. And by the way, with all of these tips, I always used kind of what I've always done was just try to max out as much as I can. So I would usually go until failure, and then once I wasn't able to do anymore, that's when I would either take off the weighted vest and keep going with my own body weight, or I would just call it quit there and have a rest break before I do the next set. Going to failure has always been kind of a way how I was able to track how hard I was working. You don't necessarily have to do that. You kind of have to listen to your own body depending on how fatigued you feel, and even if you're able to do another set after that. But even leaving 1 to 2 reps in the tank before going to failure, or before you can't do anymore, that's completely okay. You don't necessarily need to go 100% all the time, but this is how I've been able to improve my pull-ups, and so that's kind of just what I've always done. The next thing I want to point out is eccentric training. Again, I would do this kind of after failure, and if you don't know what eccentric training means, it basically there's only 2 phases really when lifting weights or doing any sort of exercise. You have the concentric phase when the muscle is shortening during contraction, and the eccentric phase is when the muscle is lengthening or starting to relax during the contraction. So, for example, with a pull-up, the concentric phase is when you are bring your body towards the bar, when you're pulling up towards it, and then the eccentric phase is when you are starting to let gravity kind of take you down and you are lowering yourself away from the bar, because that's concentric phase is when the lats and the biceps are shortening to contract to get your body to the bar, and then eccentric is when they're lengthening. And so what I would typically do is that I would go to failure, which might, for example, be like 15 reps, and then once I done 15 reps and I can't bring my body up to the bar anymore, I would either jump up, and then I would either get my chin over the bar or my chest. That way I'm using just my leg strength to jump myself up. Or you can either step on a box or some sort of platform surface that brings you up to the bar, and you just want to bend your legs or just start lowering yourself down from the bar. And what that does is that during the eccentric phase of all your workouts, the eccentric phase is typically a lot stronger, and you're able to create a lot more force through the lengthening of the muscle. And that's usually just due to kind of how your muscle contraction and everything, and the filaments in the muscle. When you are shortening the muscle, the fibers kind of go in a line like this, and that creates a lot of work for your muscle that has to do, and so it's typically harder. But lengthening of the muscle, there's a lot more surface tension, and so when it's starting to go apart, you usually have a lot more force. And so just if you're not able to bring your body up to the bar again, then you are still typically able to lower yourself down away from the bar a lot easier compared to trying to do another rep. So with doing eccentric training, you're even able to do it kind of if you're not able to do it that many pull-ups. So let's say if you're only able to do like 3 or 4, you always can do that 4 reps and then try jumping up to the bar, going on a platform, and then lowering yourself down. That way you can try to increase your volume and not have to rely so much on just pure strength to get your body up to the bar. And it's still going to be working the same muscles as if you were just to do a normal, correct pull-up. The eccentric training can be used for beginners and advanced people, I feel like, as well. Well, last and final thing that I want to bring up is the exercise bands. I do have a couple here. I do have like a thinner one and a red one. You can see the thickness, notice that. And what they are, they're just basically very big, like rubber bands. And you typically use them for exercise, just to either do like a warm-up or help against gravity type exercises if you're just using your own body weight. And what I've used them for is, again, going to failure and then either tying it around the bar so that I can put my knee or my feet through it, and then it will help kind of resist against gravity to where I'm able to go to a rep range where I want to try to achieve. So like for example, if I'm trying to do 25 pull-ups and I'm only able to do 15 reps without and not able to do any more than that, then you're able to put your foot through the bands and you can just rip out 10 more if you want, and that's gonna help you kind of get your body to adapt and to grow more strength so that you're able to do higher repetitions. Then as you start to get stronger, you are able to get a different band that will help resist or basically help you less, pretty much. So for example, with this red band here, it's quite thick. That's what she said, but it's quite thick. And this band is going to help me a lot to bring my body up towards the bar compared to this purple band I have here, which it's much thinner, doesn't really have much resistance to it. And so if you're able to get stronger, you can just get another type of band, and that way you're able to decrease the resistance, and then at some point you're going to be able to just do your own body weight without the help of the band, or being able to do more reps and then using the band as help as you need, basically. Again, with bands, I do think that for beginners, this is definitely something that you can use, especially if you're not able to get a lot of volume into your repetitions. So I'm going to use the example again for if you're doing like 3 to 4 pull-ups. Kind of like, what are you going to do kind of after that? You're going to usually be too fatigued to really do any more, and the exercise just might be too difficult. But if you were to start your first set with just bands and then do them for all 3 or 4 sets, you typically can get a lot more volume and you're going to see a lot more strength and endurance gains through those muscles compared to just trying to use your body weight if you're not really able to do that many. And if you are worried about the bands and the cost of them, just kind of like how the weighted vest, you usually have to buy it. You can't really get that at a gym, but usually if you have like a gym membership, they typically do have bands there that you can use. But even if you're doing this at home, I still think bands are a very good investment for yourself, especially if you're kind of new to exercise or new to weightlifting at all. They typically are very good for warm-ups, and you're able to use them for a lot of things. So if you're kind of debating if you should get them or not, they're typically a good investment, and I would recommend it. That's all the points that I have for now. These are tips that you can use, and you feel like if they're helping you, you can always try them out. I feel like most of these are good for beginners or advanced people. Just the weighted vest or any book bag of some sort, I feel like maybe could wait sometimes depending on how well you're doing. But in general, I think the eccentric training and also the exercise bands are, I think anyone can use. So keep that in mind while you're trying to work on your pull-ups. And also, these are things that you have to do kind of continuously. Don't really recommend doing it like once a week type thing. You're not really going to make much improvements, but maybe 3 to 4 times a week. If this is something that you really want to get good at, I really do recommend that you try kind of frequently. And also, you don't have to start with pull-ups, but even doing something like an easier version like chin-ups or kind of the military version where your hands are in neutral and then you're pulling up that way. Usually people who are generally pretty good at repetitions with pull-ups, they're not just good at pulling their body in one way, but in many ways. And so being consistent, I feel like, and also trying different versions. And even if you're not able to do a pull-up, recommend trying some weightlifting at first. Maybe using a pull-down machine at your gym or any rows. Working on those back muscles is going to help transfer that strength to your pull-ups. And so just try to stay consistent and first work on weight training. Then if you're able to do a pull-up, use the tips that I gave you. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you found anything useful. Love you guys. See you later.